Hey, it's Jen for Tested here to share some tips with you about my soldering setup. So earlier this year and last year, I got really into a project that required thousands of LEDs. Literally thousands of LEDs needed to be soldered. And I discovered some efficiencies and some tools that I like and some tools that I didn't like. So I wanted to share a little bit about the tools that I discovered and the processes that worked for me, and kind of figuring out how to streamline that workflow and make it as efficient as possible. So the first thing I'll talk about is just the kind of setup of all of my my components. So I was putting together each of the LEDs with some lead wires and heat shrink. I've got resistors for all of them. And what I found out works best is, instead of taking each LED and attaching the resistor and attaching the heat shrink and attaching the wire, if you do that times 1,000, it takes a really, really long time. So the best way to streamline that is actually to assembly line each step of the process. So I would take, my spool of heat shrink, and I'd cut, okay, I need a 1-inch piece of heat shrink, and I'd cut 1,100 pieces of that all at once. Then I'd go through and I'd cut all of my lengths of wire, and I would strip all of the ends of the wire. So I've got a huge, huge bundle of all this. These are all the same length, strip all of the ends, and I've got that out of the way. And I would go through each of the components in that manner. So I've got kind of my lunch tray here. This is actually a lunch tray. And I find these are really great for organizing the parts and keeping everything kind of in their little sections. And then once that's ready, I just go through and grab one component at a time. So I'd grab my LEDs, I've got some heat shrink to put on there, I've got my resistor. These ones actually are pre-soldered with a resistor. And then I move on to the actual assembly. So I have a couple of different setups here. These are two versions of helping hands that I really like. This first one is a table clamp version. So this one just has a piece that you can attach. It's adjustable for the thickness of your bench or your table, and you just tighten that on. I really like these arms. These are sort of like the lock line, not quite lock line, but the same type of style. They're really rigid, they're easy to position, and you've got your little alligator clips so you can set up your LEDs in there. So I would just put my wires in like that and attach everything like that. This setup works great. It's pretty flexible. You can set it up wherever you like, but you do have to kind of be at the edge of your bench. So I did find that occasionally some solder was dripping down and actually falling into my lap, which is not great. So this works if you kind of want to have a position that you can work at that's kind of close to you and get really kind of close down in there. The other setup that I really like is this just simple weighted helping hand setup. It's got a little tray at the bottom if you wanted to put components in there. What I really like about this one is it's got the magnifying glass, and it also has a light on the top. So if I plug this in, I can light up my work area, and I could also use magnifying glass to see super fine details if I need to. Both of these have worked pretty well for me. The other thing that I wanted to tell you about, which I think is kind of cool, this was a new discovery for me, is this fume extractor. So this is made by a company called Kato. It is kind of a miniature version of one of those big industrial fume hoods. I was looking at those. They cost like upwards of $500, and I wasn't looking to invest in something that big and bulky for my space. So I found this basically a miniature version. So this has a adjustable fan on the front, which is pretty quiet when you first turn it on, but you can crank it all the way up. And it comes with your standard kind of charcoal filter that you would see in a regular soldering fume extractor. There's also a HEPA filter upgrade that you can buy for it. So these little cartridges you can buy separately, and they just install in the front here of the unit. So this case opens up, and you can just pull out so you can see, starting to pull my fumes through there. There's virtually no exhaust with this. It's capturing almost everything in here, so it works really well, and I'll show you exactly how this works. So you get faster at this as you go along. The first 50 or so that you put together, you're kind of plodding along, but after a few thousand, you start to get really quick, and you're flying through them. I was also setting a timer for myself, so I'd say, let's see if I can get 5 of these done in the next 10 minutes, and you get pretty efficient at it. So I'll twist these together. I've already got my heat shrink on there, don't forget that. And then I just position these in the little clips here. And these are not the lock line arms, but these are also super flexible, but also rigid enough to hold your work in position. And I'll go ahead and turn on the fume extractor. What's good about this is you can position it exactly directly over your work area. So instead of having this panel at the back where you have to kind of make sure that the fumes are getting in, this can just go directly to your work area. So get that going. So there we go. So again, you get a lot faster at this as you go along, as you do a couple hundred of them. I have found the assembly line process works the best for the volume that I'm doing. If you're just doing a handful of LEDs, you could probably do them one at a time. I do really like this Hakko soldering iron. I borrowed this from Tested. This is the one that's really familiar to a lot of people. I know Adam also likes a kind of small battery powered one that works great. And then we really like these brand of wire strippers. These are vice grips. And I also like, these are not a particular name brand, but these work really well for doing thicker wire. I found that these ones actually work a little bit better than the vice grips for doing large quantities of stuff, because they are, I don't know, they don't get caught as frequently as these, so I kind of gravitate to the black ones. But if I'm doing thinner wire, sometimes these are a little bit too sharp, and they'll bite through the entire wire as opposed to just stripping off the casing. So I kind of go between these two, and then I've also got a pair of vice grip wire cutters for that as well. So yeah, that's the basic setup. We will put links to all of this stuff in the description if you want to check out any of these tools for your soldering setup at home. But hopefully this has given you some ideas on how to make your process a little more efficient. And yeah, we'll see you next time.